اللهم فقهنا في الدين وعلمنا التأويل. قولوا آمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear respected brothers and sisters, imagine if you were to be betrayed by your own blood and your own kin, and then thrown into a well, sold off into slavery, then unjustly imprisoned, and finally for the situation to then be reversed, where those same blood, those same kin that had betrayed you and got rid of you as though you were nothing, were now in a position of need and they came back to you. And not only did they just come back to you, but they speak ill of you, not knowing that you are Yusuf, not knowing that you are the brother. قَالُوا إِن يَسْرِقْ فَقَدْ سَرَقَ أَخٌ لَهُ مِنْ قَبْلِ. If he stole, then his brother before stole too. And that resentment that you and I would feel, perhaps wanting to commit revenge, that anger, all of that emotion, but instead of doing that, responding with forgiveness and responding with ihsan. قَالَ لَا تَثْرِيبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْيَوْمِ يَغْفِرُ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ وَهُوَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. There is no blame on you today. My dear brothers, sisters, Surah Yusuf is the story of life. قِصَّةُ الْحَيَاةِ. It's a story of love and loss, a story of betrayal, a story of being tested and having strength through those tests and having ihsan through it all. It's a story of families being separated and then a reunion in the end. This is the story that all of us live in life. Every single person, when they open up Surah Yusuf, and that is why when you are praying behind me Salat al-Isha, I am sure that you are feeling as though you are hearing it and it's being revealed to you. Because Surah Yusuf, it mirrors the life story of every single one of us. And perhaps when we open up Surah Yusuf today, parts of that story will resonate with us more than others. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, sallu alayhi, he was given this surah at one of the most difficult times of his life. Am al-Huzn, as the books of Sirah mention. His wife, al-Mu'mineen Khadija radiallahu anha, passed away. Abu Talib, his external support, the loss of loved ones, the betrayal of his people. It's as though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was teaching him through Surah Yusuf that you are not the first, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, to be betrayed by his people, nor the first to lose his loved ones. Whenever I would read these ayat of Surah Yusuf, especially that end, there's so much ruh to it. There's so much soul to these ayat. إِنِّي لَأَجِدُ رِيحَ يُوسُف. إِنِّي لَأَجِدُ رِيحَ يُوسُف. Just hearing that would put a person into tears. And finally, can you imagine the feeling of Yaqub alayhi salam reuniting with Yusuf? And Yusuf alayhi salam, وَجَاءَ بِكُمْ مِنَ الْبَدْوِ مِنْ بَعْدِ أَنْ نَزَغَ الشَّيْطَانُ بَيْنِي. Can you imagine that feeling? Whenever I would read these ayat in my former masjid, there was an uncle that was very beloved to me. His name was Brother Abdul Salam. I'm going to send him this, he'll watch it inshallah. And whenever I would read these ayat, he would just break down like a child falling into tears. He would melt. He would melt from these ayat. Why? Because he wouldn't just hear them, he would feel them. He wouldn't just hear them, he would feel them as though the verses were being revealed to him. Why? Because I know his life story. He spent several years apart from his family, trying to establish himself. And so he knows the bitterness of being separated from loved ones. So he knows the sweetness of union with family. And so whenever he would hear these ayat, he would fall into tears. And this is exactly what Hassan radiallahu anhu, he would say, that those before us, Hassan ibn Ali, he said that those before us, they would read the Quran كَأَنَّهَا رَسَائِل مِّن رَبِّهِمْ. It's as though they are intimate, personal letters given to them from their Lord. That is why the Salaf would be able to not just read and read and read the Quran and never tire and bore from that. The generation now does not know the value of letters as the generation before because we have internet. But I can give you a personal story that perhaps it can make it clearer to you. When I was a child, I was born in the 90s, so the internet didn't come until, high school. I went once and I woke up late, as children do, and I saw my dad in his study, in his office, and in front of him were a bunch of letters, papers, and he was there in his tears. And it's very strange for a son to see his father in tears. You all know fathers are usually not always that emotional, or in front of their families, they're not usually showing emotion. So for me, as a son, this is a memory that I never forgot as a child. And what was he doing? He was reading letters that he would write to his father, and his father would write to him, rahimahullah. He would, because back then, when he had come, he was not able to attend the janazah of my grandfather. Why? Because the means was not there. And so he missed the janazah. And so the only memories he had left of someone that was so beloved to him, his father, were just letters. And so imagine you receive a letter from your mother that has passed away, or a father that has passed away, or a grandparent. How would you feel reading that letter? How much would you cry reading that letter? How many times would you repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, letter for letter, memorizing it? Why? Because it's coming from someone who loves you more than anyone else. My dear brothers and sisters, who loves us more than Allah? Who gave us everything? Who gave us our parents? When we read the Quran and we engage with the book of Allah, it should be an engagement of love. One where our hearts are being connected. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنِ is repeated twice in the Quran. One time addressing the aql. وَلَوْ كَانَ مِنْ عِنْدِ غَيْرِ اللَّهِ لَوَجَدُوا فِيهِ اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا. And one time addressing the hearts, because the Quran is not just for the intellect, it's for you to change. It's for emotions to come out. The Quran is supposed to heal you. أَمْ عَلَى قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا. And so when we read the Quran, read it with your heart. Read it with ishq. Read it with love, as though it was given to you from someone who loves you more than anyone else. Now imagine if you were to engage the book of Allah Azza wa Jal like this, how deep your relationship would become with the book of Allah. When you read, for example, the incident of Nuh alayhi salam with his son, and for parents or for anyone that knows people in their lives that are beloved to them, that have lost their way, and then they read the example of Nuh with his son. يَا بُنَيَّ ارْكَمْ مَعَنَا وَلَا تَكُمْ مَعَ الْكَافِرِينَ. You hear the pain of a father. You hear the pain of Nuh alayhi salam when you read those ayat like that. Or when you read, for example, Asiya, مظلومة كانت, she was oppressed. And imagine a woman going through a similar situation that is oppressed and facing dhulm. And she reads the dua of Asiya alayhi salam. إذ قالت رب ابن لي عندك بيتا في الجنة ونجني من فرعون وعمله ونجني من القوم الظالمين. That pain you can hear in those ayat when you engage with the Quran like this across the Quran. And each ayah, a person is going to engage with it differently. And so what I'm going to leave with you tonight, open the Quran and read until you find an ayah that catches your heart, catches your attention, and repeat it, and repeat it, and repeat it until you just melt in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Until you just fall into tears in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And especially Surah Yusuf, especially the ayah that I just mentioned, the incident of Nuh alayhi salam, Surah Maryam, all of these different instances that would really melt us in front of the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us people of Quran. Allahumma ja'alna min ahli al-Quran, alladhina hum ahluka wa khassatuka ya dhal jalali wal ikram. Allahumma ja'al al-Qur'ana rabi'a qulubina wa nura sudurina wa jala'a ahzanina wa dhahaba humumina wa ghumumina. Allahumma rzuqna bi kulli harfin min al-Qur'ani halawa. وبكل كلمة كرامة وبكل آية سعادة وبكل سورة سلامة وبكل جزء جزاء وصل اللهم على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. If there's any questions, I could take questions, inshallah. بارك الله فيكم. الحمد لله.